Matcha lattes are a great way to add matcha green tea to your daily routine, but there are a few tips you can use to make your matcha lattes even better. In this video, we're going to cover 5 different tips you can use to make a better tasting matcha latte. Before we get started, it would really mean a lot to us if you could subscribe to our YouTube channel and like this video so that you can see more like it in the future. If you'd prefer to read about this topic, we have a great blog article on our website, neoteas.com, and we can put the link in the description below. Without further ado, let's get started. Tip number 1, make sure to always sift your matcha powder before making the matcha latte. The first step when it comes to any matcha latte recipe is sifting the matcha powder. You may not find this step listed elsewhere, but it's very important. Because matcha is ground into such a fine powder, it's very sensitive to the humidity in the air. This causes it to form clumps once the package is open. The matcha is still fine to use when it has these clumps. It'll just be more difficult to mix into the matcha latte. We recommend to just run the powder through a sifter to remove these clumps. This will make your matcha mix more evenly into the water and prevent the clumps from forming in the matcha green tea. Tip number 2, make sure that you make a matcha paste before making the latte. This second tip is another one you may also not see recommended in matcha latte recipes, but we really think it makes a big difference. The first reason it makes a difference is because it adds an extra opportunity to get the clumps out of the matcha. When you're working with a small quantity of water, it's easy to find these clumps and mix them into a smooth matcha paste. Even when making regular matcha tea, we recommend this step, as it can really improve the taste. In special Japanese tea ceremonies, the guests actually drink this matcha paste, or koicha. When drinking the matcha tea like this, all the flavors and health benefits are amplified, but if you're using a lower quality matcha, it can become incredibly bitter. That is why it's really important to go for a high quality okumidori matcha like the Matcha Wachimine or Nakai Superior matcha when you're drinking the koicha plain. The second benefit to creating the matcha paste is that it allows you to use less water. At this stage, you're just adding 3 tablespoons of warm water to the matcha powder and mixing it up. If you were to use more water in your matcha latte, it would dilute the flavor of the matcha. With this added matcha paste step, you have more room for adding delicious oat milk or soy milk and extra matcha flavor. Tip number 3, always use a plant milk for your matcha green tea latte. When it comes to the milk you use in your matcha green tea latte, you should always go for a plant-based milk. While there are many reasons that plant-based milk is superior to cow's milk, one of them is the fact that the casein in the dairy milk can have a negative effect on the antioxidants in the green tea. A lot of people drink matcha for its health benefits, and in order to maximize these, you should avoid the dairy. The flavors also work much better with the plant-based milks, and because there's so much variety, you can always try different milks out to see which one you like most. If you're focused on the health benefits of your matcha green tea latte, you should also try to limit the amount of sweeteners you add. The best way to do this is just to add a little bit less each time, and eventually your taste buds will adapt, and you will be able to appreciate the natural sweetness of the matcha green tea latte. Tip number 4, use latte matcha for your matcha green tea latte. There are 2 main categories for matcha powder: high quality matcha, which is meant to be consumed plain, and latte matcha, which is meant to be mixed into a matcha green tea latte. There are 2 reasons why you should use the latte matcha for your matcha latte. The first reason is that the matcha is much more affordable, and with the quantity that you'll be using for matcha tea lattes, you will save a lot of money. The second reason is that you actually don't want a high quality matcha in your matcha green tea latte necessarily. High quality matcha is carefully produced so that it has a natural sweetness to it and a smooth finish. While this makes it great for drinking plain, the flavor is often overshadowed by the plant milk, so you end up with this less flavorful matcha green tea latte. The latte matcha tends to have a stronger taste profile, so you can really notice it through the milk. Tip number 5, using matcha ice cubes in your iced green tea latte. We often like to recommend using matcha ice cubes when making an iced green tea latte. While ice cubes are great for keeping your drinks cold, they really dilute the flavor when they melt, and this can make the drinking experience less enjoyable. If you really want to maximize the flavor of your iced green tea latte, you can make up some matcha tea and freeze it in an ice cube tray overnight. You can then just use a few of these cubes in your iced matcha latte to keep it cold. As these cubes melt, instead of watering down your iced matcha latte, they will actually make it more flavorful. The key to making the best matcha green tea latte. If there's one takeaway from this whole matcha green tea latte guide, it should be to limit the amount of water you use in your lattes. When it comes to matcha tea lattes, the biggest mistake people make is adding too much water. The matcha powder is what gives it the flavor, the sugar and milk give the matcha latte the smooth and sweet flavor, but the water just adds volume and dilutes the flavor. One way to reduce the water content is by making matcha ice cubes instead of regular ice cubes, as we mentioned earlier. Another way is to start out by making a matcha paste rather than a full bowl of matcha and then adding the plant milk in later. By following all these steps, you will be able to make the best matcha tea latte. What is the best latte matcha for matcha green tea lattes? When it comes to the best matcha powder you can use in your matcha tea lattes, the best is the latte grade matcha. This is a matcha we found after meeting the farmer Mr. Masuda in Shizuoka. Mr. Masuda has a lot of premium matcha teas he produces without pesticides, but this one is designed specifically for lattes. When it comes to the latte matcha, you should always go for pesticide-free and find one that is made in Japan. This way you can still save money without compromising on taste and quality. I hope you've all enjoyed this video and found it helpful when it comes to making your own matcha green tea lattes at home. If you'd like to support the channel, we would really appreciate it if you went to neoteas.com and tried out the latte grade matcha from Mr. Masuda. We would also appreciate it if you could subscribe to the YouTube channel and like this video to see more like it in the future. If you have any questions about green tea, please feel free to leave them in the comments below. Until then, we'll see you next time.